Hey, what is going on, everyone? We are about 1 month into the launch of Once Human already, and in today's video, I want to go through some suggestions to help improve the overall experience of the game. Now, we're not going to be talking about fixing this bug or fixing that bug, just because I think that might take too long, but we'll be talking about some new features that could improve the quality of life of the game, as well as how to improve existing features. And as always, I would like to thank my research team in Discord for helping to come up with some of these ideas. Their links are in the description down below if you would like to support them. Also, I am planning to put these suggestions into a document and I will be sending it to the developers. So if you have any other suggestions that I did not cover in the video, please leave a comment down below. I will definitely be adding the top suggestions from the comments into that document for the developers to see. And of course, if you do end up enjoying the video, drop a like down below to help support the channel. But without further ado, let's get straight into it. So I have these suggestions in 3 different priorities: high priority, medium priority, and low priority. So let's start out with the high priority items. Now, one major issue with the game is around Prime Wars. Prime Wars are a really cool idea for an event where you can get 40 players together to defeat a boss, but the issue right now is that they are just too laggy and aren't super reliable. So when too many people are participating in a Prime War, or if too many defenses are built, they just get too laggy and it basically becomes unplayable. Now, from my experience, the main culprit for this lag is because of all the defenses that get built and the ones that are left over from the previous Prime War. So having those defenses left over causes kind of 3 major problems. One, obviously, it contributes to the lag that you have when you're playing Prime Wars, but 2, it also doesn't let the people that are trying to do the new Prime War set up the defenses themselves because they're not able to demolish things that other players have built from the previous Prime War. And the third thing just has to do with the scoring system. So players can get points if the Prime War boss destroys structures that that player has built, but it's kind of hard to do that when the pre-existing structures are there. So some suggestions on how to fix this issue: obviously it would be great if after the Prime War was completed, all of the defenses and structures were then wiped so that the next group could then build the defenses how they see fit. Or another idea is perhaps introducing a blueprint system specifically for defenses at Prime Wars. So each Prime War location would have a set blueprint that players can then contribute resources to, and then the players that contribute those resources will earn a percentage of the points when those defenses are destroyed. Now, obviously, I think putting a wipe mechanic in after the Prime War is completed is probably the easier solution, but it is an interesting idea to kind of toy with a blueprint system for these Prime Wars, where maybe there's different levels or different varieties of defenses that you can build that require different resources. Now, something that is a pretty hot topic for discussion is server transfers. Now, there are no server transfers currently in the game. I believe this is something that developers do have planned, but this is something that I think we need sooner than later, especially with the new season approaching. And obviously, during Season 1, we've had caps on a lot of the different servers. So if you join a server and then maybe a week later your friend wants to join that same server, sometimes that was not possible because of the cap on the server. So introducing server transfers would allow people to transfer their entire character and everything that's with them to another server so that they could play with their friends. And obviously, another solution there would be to raise the cap on the amount of players that can join a server, or have a queue system, which I know they've had in the past. So introducing one of those features, I think, would just make a better player experience overall. And as for how server transfers might work, I think they should allow a certain number of server transfers per season, per account. I don't think they should introduce a server transfer token because honestly, I just think there are too many currencies in the game, and introducing something like a server transfer token would just probably get a little bit confusing. So just having a number that is on the server list saying how many server transfers you have left for the season could work. Now, speaking of having too many currencies in the game, I think the main issue here is that all the different currencies are viewable on different screens in the game. I think having something very similar to the way that they deal with the different types of fish at the fishing vendors would work. So basically, at the fishing vendors, up in the top right, you have a drop down. If you click that drop down, it shows all the fish that you can use as a currency for that vendor. I think having something similar just for all the different currencies in the game would be great. Just a central place that shows all the different currencies, and then by clicking on a currency, it could bring you to that specific shop. So for example, for Mitsuko's marks, if you clicked on that, it would bring you to the season shop. And something else that is an extremely hot topic in the community, and it actually references my recent video about how to prepare for the next season of Once Human, is just season reset transparency. So I know in the game we do have a season info tab that shows you the certain things that are inherited to your character, certain things that are teleported or transferred to Eternal Land, and then other things that will get wiped at the end of the season. One of the main issues here is that some of these things are just a little too high level still. So for example, things that will get transferred to Eternal Land, it mentions materials, medicine, and ammunition, but it's not specific, especially about materials of what actually gets transferred over, because there are a lot of different things in the game that are classified as a material. I think one easy way to solve this problem is simply just adding an icon to items that can be transferred to the next season. So it might be a little Eternal Land Island icon, so when you actually hover over a specific material, it'll just have that icon in the corner, and then you know that that material can be transferred to Eternal Land and then withdrawn from Eternal Land for use in the next season. And also, on the topic of season resets, I want to talk about server timelines within the season. So currently, your server is on a timeline based on when that server actually opened. So for example, my server just hit phase 5, but if you joined a new server today, you would be on phase 1. Now, my preferred solution for this is having all the servers on the same timeline and completely in sync. Now, the reason I think this is a good idea is it's just better for community engagement overall. I want to talk to the entire community about what is happening on servers and not have to have this stipulation of, oh, but you need to be in this phase in order to actually see this. There's definitely been a lot of confusion about this, especially from new players, because they'll pop into my stream, for example, they'll see that I'm doing something, and then they'll say, well, how do I actually get to that? How do I get to that area? How do I do that event? And then I need to explain that you cannot actually access this yet. So I just think having all the servers be on the same timeline would just be better for the community. And then when it comes to the end of the season, it's also still a little unclear of how that exactly works, but the best guess that we have is based on your own server's timeline. That's when the next season will start. So for example, like I said, I'm in phase 5, so after I get through phase 6, my server will move on to the next season, but we're not 100% sure if that's exactly how it's going to work, so having some more clarity there would be great. And if they end up sticking with this sort of every server is on its own timeline, I do think it would be more useful on the server screen when you're actually choosing a server to just see how many days are left for that server rather than seeing what day that server is on. Because if you just go to a server and you see, oh, this server is on day 20, you have no reference for like how long that actually is in the season. So just seeing how many days are left on that server might be a better solution than showing the day number that that server is in. Now, moving into some more medium priority things, and these are things that I still think are important to address, but they're not necessarily as important, I guess, as the top priority items, obviously. But the first thing here is the vending machine revamp. So currently it is pretty annoying to have to go check every single vending machine in the world in order to try and find what you're looking for. Now, obviously the vending machines on the map do show you the category of items that are in that vending machine, but if you're looking for something specific, that category is just not enough information for you. So there are a variety of solutions that we could have for this. So the first one here is just having a centralized place where players players can view all available items from vending machines on the server and where they're located. So maybe this would be by clicking actually on a vending machine from the map, and it would open up a new window that would give us a detailed list of all the vending machines with pictures of their items with the prices. And you would be able to filter through all the items if you're looking for something specific. And if you found the item that you're looking for, you could then click on it and it would route you to that vending machine. If that vending machine was in a different world, it would then route you to the nearest teleportation tower perhaps, and then it would then continue to route you once you got to that world. Now, another option would just be having a sort of auction house at all the different settlements in the world that would just show everything that would be available, and this would kind of almost eliminate the need for a vending machine. I don't think the developers do want to remove the vending machines entirely, especially since they just rolled out some new paid skins for them. It seems like they are committed to the vending machines. But I think a lot of other MMOs do this the right way with an auction house that just makes it easier to view everything within your server, and you can also get a glimpse at the actual economy for your server. But I would definitely like to know what you think about this. I think vending machines are a really cool concept on paper, but the way that they've been implemented into the game just kind of makes them more of a hassle than more useful. Something else that I think should be added into the game is local text chat. So we have a variety of different text channels in the game, but there's nothing that can really help you communicate via text with players that are near you. Now, obviously we have the voice system, so you're able to talk through a microphone with players that are near you, but I know some players don't want to use their microphones in those situations and they just want to have a local text chat. So perhaps introducing that local chat category that would allow you to talk to people, let's say within 100 meters of you. I'm not entirely sure of that distance. That could obviously change, but I think that would be a great idea and an easy addition to the game. Now, talking a little bit about deviations, one thing that I've seen brought up quite a bit in the community, and there also is a little bit of confusion around it because I've been asked this question a lot, is how to actually level up deviation. So the way the game currently works is you just need to find higher level deviations. There's no way to actually level up an existing deviation that you have, but I think that would be an interesting mechanic in the game. So the ability to level up a deviation, whether it's by combining it with that same deviation. So if I had a Buzzy Bee and then I had 5 other Buzzy Bees in my inventory, maybe I would be able to use those other Buzzy Bees to then level up my main Buzzy Bee. Or perhaps how much the deviation is actually used would determine how it actually levels up. So the more that you use a deviation, for example, like a combat deviation, like the Lone Wolf's Whisper, if you use that one quite a bit, maybe the more you use it and the more effective it is would then level up that deviation, making it more effective overall. Now, it is exciting finding a deviation that is a higher level, but it is kind of random at the moment, and it also kind of depends on how your character is set up. So you can use a securement soup food item to have a higher chance to catch a deviation, or based on your gloves can have different perks that allow you to catch different level deviations or have a higher chance to catch those deviations. And I think that's fine, but I do think it would be more interesting to have a leveling system for these deviations rather than it being kind of random. Now, something else I would love to see them add to the game is just world event notifications. So I know that some of those world events can pop up in the text chat, and then you can obviously have players share those things as well through combat invitations, and they'll appear in the text chat. But currently, the only way to see what event is going on in your world is just by looking at the map. So I think just having a small notification, maybe it's where the mini map is, that just shows that there is an existing event happening in your world would be a great idea. And then even events that are happening in other worlds, it could at least tell you where those events are in the different worlds. So I think just having a notification for an event that has just started would be a great idea, or even if there was some sort of centralized place that just showed all the events that are happening on your server, regardless of which world it is, would just be a great addition to the game. Now, moving into some things that I think are just lower priority that would be just pretty cool to have. The first thing here also has to do with deviation leveling, but it just has to do with their appearance. So currently right now, you just can't tell the difference between different level deviations. So I think having maybe a slight color differentiation between the different level deviations would be a cool idea. or even being able to unlock skins for your deviations by the way that you use them. So if you use your Chephosaurus Rex all the time, maybe after a certain point, you would just unlock a different skin for that deviation would be a neat idea. So basically, just customizing the appearance of your deviations could be cool, whether that's based on level or based on how much you actually use the deviation. I would love to see either of those options implemented into the game. Now, something else that I am considering lower priority, but players out there, you guys might consider it higher priority, is claiming rewards in the game can seem a little cumbersome. There's just a lot of places to claim rewards in the game, and I think maybe having a centralized place where players can claim all pending rewards and showing them where exactly it was claimed from would be a good idea. Now for me, I don't find it too much of a hassle to click into each menu and claim those rewards, but I've seen that feedback quite a bit, and I'll be honest, like I would be totally happy with having a centralized place where I could just claim all of my rewards so I wouldn't have to actually click into the menus. But again, it's kind of lower priority for me, but it might be higher priority for you. Something else that I've seen brought up quite a bit is the ability to transmog your gear. So unless you have a cosmetic for your armor, you are stuck with the default look of that armor. So allowing players to transmog their armor into the look of another piece of armor would be a great idea. Now, I don't know if this would be through using something like transmog tokens. I know there are too many currencies kind of already in the game. So maybe there would be a different way to do this, or perhaps you could use one of those like character customization tokens for transmogging your gear. Not entirely sure the logistics of how this might be able to work, but I've seen a lot of players give this feedback and it would be pretty cool. There's a lot of cool looking armor in the game, and sometimes you want to wear the cool looking armor versus the armor that's actually better for you. So it would be great to kind of combine those two things so that you could wear armor that you enjoy the look of and it also has great stats. Something else that has kind of been bothersome for me is the fact that there is no flight mode for Hive member territories. So even if you have build permissions, there is no way to use flight mode in a Hive member territory. So I just think allowing players to use flight mode if they have building permissions at a base just makes a lot of sense. And there's really not much else to say for this. I just think enabling the flight mode in those Hive member territories would be a great idea and just would be a good quality of life improvement. And something else I would love to see, and this is really just something that I think would be fun, is just having higher tier fishing rods. So there's only currently one type of fishing rod in the game, and I know there are bait options that are higher tiers, but it would just be nice to be able to upgrade your fishing rod using different materials, and maybe that would increase your chances of catching rarer fish. We're able to upgrade so many different things in the game, and I just feel like maybe upgrading your fishing rods or even having just different types of looks for your fishing rods based on which materials you decided to craft it would be a good idea. And it would just be something fun. You know, fishing is something I always love to do in games, and just having more options when it comes to fishing is always something that I kind of look forward to. Now, the next thing here has to do with improving chest customization. So currently, right now, you can only change the name of a chest and you can't even use spaces in that name. And then they also just gave everyone a skin for their chest that kind of looks like a filing box. And those are really the only two ways that you can customize a chest. So I think allowing players to use spaces in the chest names obviously should happen. And also allowing players to customize the color of the text and an icon for each chest would be great. Also adding in a hot deposit button without the need to actually go into the chest menu to hot deposit. So I think a great example of this, and one of my favorite games, is Grounded. Grounded has one of the best chest systems I've ever seen in a game. There are so many different customization options, and you can literally just walk into your room of chests without interacting with any of the chests. You press one button and it will automatically deposit everything from your inventory into the appropriate chest. So I think having that in the game would be great, as collecting materials is such a core part of the game, and depositing those things can be a little bit tedious. So I think adding those different customization options could just make a better overall experience for the player. And something else that Grounded does that I think is great that this game should definitely have is the ability to toggle the hot deposit option for certain chests. So for example, you might have a chest where you don't want things to be hot deposited into it, or you don't want things to be taken out of that chest to be used for crafting. So having that option for chests would just be fantastic and would allow us to really customize our experience when we're crafting and when we're hot depositing. Now, going back to deviations, the current way that you have to interact with deviations in your securement units at your base is you need to access each deviation separately. I think it would be great to have a centralized menu for all deviations and their status so that you could collect everything kind of in one go, refill their energy bars, and just look at their overall status in one place. As you can tell, having a centralized menu for things seems to be a theme of this video, but I really do think things are a little too scattered in the game right now, and it would just help the quality of life of the game if everything was a little bit more centralized. And finally, the last low priority item that I have is the fact that whispers can get in the way of interacting with objects, and I think they need a little bit of a revamp. Now, I do know that you can turn off whispers in the settings of the game, but I think that they could either do one of two things. Either make it so that whispers cannot be placed right next to objects that you have to interact with, so having some sort of radius around objects where whispers cannot be placed, or have whispers only show up when you actually use your snap ability. I think that could be a good solution as well, where then it's up to the player whether they actually want to view whispers or not, and maybe they're looking for something specific so that when they snap, those whispers show up and then they're able to interact with them there. And there you have it. Those are a bunch of different suggestions that I have for the game. Now, obviously, this might not cover everything. So again, if you have any other suggestions that I did not cover, please leave them in the comments down below, and I'll add the top suggestions from there into the document that I'll be sending over to the developers. And I really do appreciate your help with this. I want Once Human to be one of the best MMOs out there, and I think it has so much potential, but there's definitely some things that the game needs to fix. So please leave your feedback down in the comments below if you would like to. And of course, if you did end up enjoying this video, definitely drop a like and subscribe down below to help support the channel. And feel free to join our Discord community as well. That link is always down in the description below. We've got an amazing community over there with a bunch of people that love to help other people. So if you have any questions about the game, feel free to join our Discord community. We've also got a cool channel in there that is for a loot timer. So it'll notify people when the weapon and gear crates in the game reset. So if you're doing your crate runs, it just becomes a lot more efficient when you actually get notified of when those crates reset. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate all your support. I hope you're looking forward to more Once Human content in the future. I've got a lot of cool stuff planned, so stay tuned for that. But I hope you have a great rest of your day and take care.